what's happening? This is Uncle J here. I could be talking to you about anything in the world, but today I'm going to be doing a recap on UFC 139, and then I'm going to give my predictions on the upcoming Ultimate Fighter finale battle between Michael Bispin and Mayhem Miller. Okay, first fight on this card. Let's look at Uriah Faber versus Brian Bowles. Now, coming into this fight, I saw Uriah Faber basically winning this fight because he had the superior wrestling. And basically, in terms of striking, I felt that even though they were kind of on the same level, Uriah Faber had that extra je ne sais quoi, if you will. But I still expected it to be a somewhat competitive battle, but that wasn't the case. For most of this fight, Uriah Faber actually dominated Brian Bowles before, finishing it off with a guillotine choke. Yeah, which was really impressive because, like I said, even though I did see Uriah Faber winning this fight, I didn't see him dominating Brian Bowles the way he did. So he gets another title fight against Dominic Cruz after he fights Chad Mendes, which should be an interesting match. Considering the first fight was, even though Dominic Cruz won the first fight, it was pretty close, and it's one of those fights that if they fought again, you still wouldn't know who would win. So that's a very interesting fight. All right, next fight, Kong Lee versus Wanderlei Silva. This was a very good fight. Very fun to watch. Throughout the fight, I was on the edge of my seat. Kong Lee getting his kicks in there. The strikes were getting the strikes he wanted in there. But at some point, he started getting tired. I don't know whether it was the case he got tired or whether some of the shots that Wanderlei got on him basically kind of took it out of him. Because Wanderlei was having success in terms of closing the distance. So it was a kind of a back and forth battle. I was very impressed with Wanderlei because he actually fought with a lot of intelligence. He still had the brawler mentality, but he kind of timed it well. So he picked his moments, where to go mad. So he was keeping it nice and intelligent, being wary of Kong Lee's kicks, and every time he had an opportunity to counter, he countered. With a bit of madness. I think Wanderlei had success in the clinch. Every time he got a hold of Kong Lee, he gave him problems. Kong Lee, I think it was in the third round, basically got caught by Wanderlei and was just hanging on for dear life. Was resulting in going into wrestling. I think when they stopped the fight, Wanderlei was landing punches on him, but Kong Lee had actually grabbed hold of Wanderlei's leg and was going for some kind of takedown. Pretty much it was a very bad stoppage, and I feel like Kong Lee was robbed because it was one of those situations where if they hadn't stopped it earlier, I feel, judging by the performance of both fighters, I feel Kong Lee would have weathered the storm, recovered, and anything could have happened. So the fact that the referee stopped the fight there where he stopped it, I think he basically ended up robbing Kong Lee, and it's just another example of poor officiating in mixed martial arts. Now for the main event, Shogun versus Henderson. This was a really good fight. Back and forth. Definitely candidate for fight of the year. I mean, you won't win in my top five. I think fight of the year still has to be Nick Diaz versus Paul Day. That still has to be my fight of the year. But it's definitely in the top five. Very good fight. Back and forth. Both fighters using wrestling. Shogun actually surprised me with that. He uses a lot of wrestling. Both fighters are using a lot of good striking. Using the striking that they're known for. So Shogun was using his Muay Thai, and Henderson was using his wrestling strike, wrestling / boxing type striking set. In this fight, very close, but in my opinion, Shogun won that fight. I think Shogun won the last two fights clearly. Dan Henderson won the first two fights. I said first two rounds. Yeah, Dan Henderson won round 1 and 2. I think Shogun won rounds 4 and 5 clearly, and round 3 was pretty close, but I would have to have given it to Shogun. So I think Shogun did win that fight. I think he got robbed, but at the same time it was so close that it's not really that big a deal that Dan Henderson won, if you get my drift. Because I kind of want to see Dan Henderson versus John Jones, if John Jones can get past the Ultimate Cheetah. So yeah, Shogun did get robbed in my opinion, but not to the point where I'm gonna be upset. Alright, predictions for the upcoming fight between Michael Bispin and Mayhem Miller. Alright, let's look at the both fighters. Michael Bispin is a very, very good kickboxer. Very, very good kickboxer. He used to be quite, how can I say, tappy. His punches used to be quite light at the start of his career. When I say, well, at the start of his time at middleweight. But in his last couple of fights, he's begun to sit down more on his punches. So there's a lot more power in his punches. He's beginning to get a lot more confident, a lot more well-rounded. He actually uses a lot of takedowns now. He has good takedown defense and good submission defense as well. Mayhem Miller is one of those fighters. He's like what I call, he has a grappler's striking style, if you get my drift. You know how wrestlers strike? They strike to get you to the ground and whatnot. His striking is kind of similar to that. And he has very, very, very good jiu-jitsu. Extremely good jiu-jitsu. I mean, like, if it gets to the ground. I mean, this is someone that almost submitted Jake Shields. Jake Shields was basically saved by the bell. So, if this thing does go to the ground, Michael Bispin will be in a lot of trouble. Apart from that, Mayhem Miller is actually quite an intelligent fighter. He's quite crafty in the cage. It's a really, really tough one to call. But to be honest, if I had to pick one, I'm gonna have to go with Mayhem Miller, believe it or not. I think despite Michael Bispin's dynamic and quite good kickboxing, I just think Mayhem Miller's craftiness can easily counter that. On top of that, I do feel his grappling skills is much better than Michael Bispin's grappling skills. I think Michael Bispin has enough grappling skills to throw you off your game. And to defend a few submissions and get a few submissions on people that are not that good on the ground. But against someone like Mayhem Miller, I just think all that will be counted. So I'm going to lean on Mayhem Miller to win by a decision. I think he's going to win by a decision. I don't think it will be technical knockouts. Alright, as usual, like in all my videos, I like to leave you with a scripture. This week's scripture is going to be Psalms 46 verse 12, and this scripture is just basically reminding us about the perks of actually walking with God, you know, talking about the peace and protection it brings when you walk with God and you allow God into your life and for Him to work in your life. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed or were blessed by the scripture that was left, I actually do a weekly internet show called Bible Study with Uncle Jay. The link to that is below. So basically there's a playlist of all the Bible Study with Uncle Jay's I've done so far. I think I've done about 4 or 5 so far. They're usually maximum 15 minutes long. They're usually between 10 and 15 minutes long. So check that out. And yeah, let me know what you think. Leave comments about fights I've not mentioned. And all sorts. So take care. God bless. Peace.